This actually goes a lot with what we kind of talked about. I'm a competitor, physique competitor, and I'm a fitness instructor, personal trainer.
Then you've had a lot of experience about the things we were just talking about.
A lot.
And you know the role that attitude or mood plays in the process.
100%.
Yeah.
When I prep for a show, there is a very strict meal plan and regimen that I have to be on to allow my body to do...
To satisfy the beliefs that you hold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Make a decision and line up with it.
Yes.
Yes.
In about 2 to 3 weeks out from my show, I believe 100% in the whole process.
Yes.
And I actually I'm in love with the whole process of it. There is a level of pain in the process.
Yes.
Physical pain, because you're in such a depleted state. I just wanted to make sure that when I am denying myself certain things, I mean, I'm giving myself enough to live and pushing my body to extreme levels, and there is a level of misery that I kind of love in a weird way. I don't love the misery.
We don't want you to stop doing what you're doing because you're getting results from it, but we do want to bring you back around to the things that we were talking about earlier. When the action that you believe in is the dominant characteristic or factor, you might be depriving yourself of the leverage of energy alignment. And we've never seen anyone who was in any state of any kind of misery, no matter what degree, who was also allowing real communication between source and cells. And so just play with this a little bit. Allow yourself a little less grief and a little more alignment. We want to say this to you, to all of you, because this is a fact of the universal laws of the universe. So if your desire is strong enough, now picture these engines on this train that we've been talking about, and that you've got these engines of desire and these engines of belief. And sometimes the engines of belief are working against the engines of desire, because we know that your desire is to get the results that you are wanting with ease and with flow and with inspiration. There's a difference between being inspired to it and motivating yourself to it. And there's misery in motivation where there is not misery in inspiration. And so just rest with those thoughts just a little bit and don't change much of what you're doing. So now think of these engines and think about the desire engine and the belief engine. And let's say that in this case, the belief engine is that you've got to pay some price, and in some cases it's a bit significant, a little bit hard, but your desire is strong. Well, what's happening? This is the statement that we want you to always remember. If your desire is strong enough, it does not matter what your beliefs are. Your desire will triumph. Jerry and Esther had 4 big buses that they traveled the nation for about 11 years. And the last 2 were powerful. They were Prevost buses. And 45 feet long, they weighed 65,000 pounds. And they were big buses. And behind the big bus, they towed a big car, an SUV. They had a very precise hooking up process with a sort of checklist. And one day, Esther is in a sort of hurried mode, and she did not disengage the parking brake. So they dragged the car behind the bus, and the bus didn't even flinch. Esther is driving. The bus felt exactly the same dragging the car as it did with the wheels turning freely. Sort of set the wheels on fire a little and made the brake fluid boil, and the brake fluid went through all of the system and sort of fried all 4 brakes on all 4 wheels, and the car was never quite the same. They gave it away to someone. But the power of the motion forward compensated for that. And that's a little bit what we're talking about here. In other words, you can get the progress, but you can release the resistance. You can take the parking brake off and have a smoother ride. Just do it gradually. Just be nicer to yourself about it, first and foremost in thought. And before you know it, you will be inspired to something that works just right for you, because your inner being understands everything. Your inner being understands the power of your desire. Your inner being understands where you are in relationship to it. Your inner being understands so intimately, so incrementally everything about your body that it is our promise to you that inspiration will come that will be pleasing to you. And if you feel just a little better, and then just a little better, and then just a little better, you know how you feel when you get to where you're meant to be? You know how you feel when those thoughts do turn to things and you just feel triumphant? Mm-hmm. Well, hear this. If more of those thoughts felt good along the way, what turns to things will please you more. More. Way more. And that's what this process will show you, because you're just fine-tuning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something more?
Oh, that's awesome.
Really good. Really good.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't really think I'd get up here. Okay, so I started.
Well, that might be why you did.
I really wanted to, but I don't know. I'm new to this. I started about 4 months ago.
Yeah. You're not new to vibration, and you're not new to the universe responding to your vibration.
Yeah,
and you're not new to emotion, and you're not new to knowing that you prefer to feel good. In other words, you're not new to this. You're old to this.
Very true. I'm new to your teachings,
Yeah.
I should have said. So I wanted to
Well,
share.
we just want to ask you,
Okay.
when you first got here, did any of you go to school for those important instructions about gravity?
No.
Did the teacher say, you need to know about gravity, because if you don't know about the law of gravity, you might walk outdoor and just float away? There's just some things you don't need words about, and law of attraction is one of them.
I get it. Yeah.
We're just wanting you to stop arguing for the limitation of being new to this, because there isn't any.
You're right. Okay. Yeah. So I have an exciting story about something that I manifested. Just getting here is probably the biggest thing that I've, even tried to manifest. Everything has fallen into place with, getting the money and everything. And so it was great. So a friend that I came with works for the airline, and so she got me a standby ticket. So I'm flying from Cincinnati, and I get to the airport at 8 o'clock, and the first thing that happens is they give me a priority pass, so I get to skip through the line at the security. And I was like, well, that's great. I'm going to get on this flight. And I didn't. And so I was like, oh, man, so there's another flight. I'm like, I'm definitely going to get on this. I'm going to a seminar for the law of attraction. I have to get there. It's going to work, And I didn't get on that flight, the second flight. So I'm like, and she's already getting on her flight from St. Louis. And so I'm like, what am I going to do? Should I rent a car? And then she said, well, maybe you could fly to New York, and then from New York, fly to Chicago, and then, you'll get here like 7:30. And I was like, so.
Take the path of most resistance, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way I felt about that one. So then I go to, and I asked the lady at the desk if, can I get on the flight to New York? And she's like, well, you're trying to get to Chicago, right? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, there's a crew over here who is waiting for their plane that had been broken down yesterday or something. And it's about to pull up, and they're flying to Chicago, and I can probably get you on that flight. I got on that flight. I was the only passenger. I had the entire plane to myself. It was me and 3 crew members. And the best was, the little flight attendant came over and gave me the little speech on, not over the microphone, just standing in front of me, and your seats are flotation device. I was like, yeah, I got it, I know. And then, but the best was right before we take off, I hear the pilot say, ma'am, we will be taking off shortly. Please, and I was like, so I'm, taking selfies, and I'm like, all to my, screaming kids, because this is my kid-free weekend, and everything. So that was great, and we ended up, we were my friend is meeting from St. Louis. We ended up getting there right around the same time. And then I was, the shuttle, I haven't seen a shuttle for this hotel. And then she gets there and boop, there it is. I'd stand there for 20 minutes. I didn't see one for the hotel. She gets there it is. So that we get here, and the only room they had left in the block was one with a king-size bed. And I said, we're going to have to share a bed. I know I haven't seen you since we were little kids, but, And she starts to ask if they have double beds, and he said, I was just going to ask you if you wanted to switch to a double bed. And we said, yeah, that would be great. And he said, and I upgraded you to the 10th floor with a balcony and the view of the city. And we just looked at each other like, that's right.
So, not only is law of attraction working all the time, but you now have a personal sense of the biggest factor in law of attraction, which is timing. And we really want to point to that, because after everything turned to things, you could tell by the way everyone felt about it how thrilling it is that you had a private jet.
It was amazing.
A big one.
Yeah.
That brought you here.
Yeah.
And it was way more exhilarating than if you'd gotten on the first standby or the second standby. So it looked like things weren't working out for you. But you didn't lose your resolve or your feeling of well-being about it. And even the thought, as you called your friend and your friend began offering other options, those options, crazy as they were, still diffused your concern, because it made you realize that it didn't have to happen just the way you thought it might happen or the first way that you thought it might happen. The universe has endless resources and avenues to yield to you what you want. And so it's the timing factor that we really want to call your attention to. The timing, the rendezvousing with it as good as it can be. And we want to say to all of you, hear this. And don't hate us for saying it. No matter how good it is unfolding, it could be better. No matter how good it is unfolding, it could be better. As you relax into the understanding that the universe is not knocking itself out in the sense that there's effort or struggle involved, but on it and aware of you and considering all details and considering all factors. In other words, the universe knew that you just didn't want to get a ride to Chicago. The universe knew you wanted something really good to happen for you. The universe knew that you wanted to be in the chair giving this message to everyone. In other words, there's so much more involved that you weren't even consciously aware of, that your inner being knew that's in the vortex. When you get in this sweet spot where you begin to let the universe, and as you notice now that you've had this experience, you are forever changed. Your expectation about the way things can work out for you in extraordinary ways has moved light years from where it was. Not from where it was in the vortex, but from where it was in terms of your willingness to accept these things for you. It's really, ma'am,
Right. I was like,
we're about to take off. We're about to take off. Yeah, really good.
It was exciting.
Yeah.
So. But I do have a question for you too, okay? Because I came here for this question, and that stuff just helped me, so.
Didn't that stuff answer your question?
Yes, yeah, well, a little bit.
That story answered every question in this room.
Yeah.
And you know what you're about to do? You're about to go back in time to a different vibration than the vibration you now own.
No, this is also a good thing.
We know, but... Think about what we're saying here. We want to talk about the power of now. Now, you've heard that expressed before, but we want you to really understand what we mean about it, because your inner being, you accept the existence of your inner being. We know that you do. Your inner being never looks back. What we like best is to find you in this room with a question that has just hatched in you just now. We like the motion forward that we're all having together much more than the reaching back into something that happened to me before. And so, is there anything that you could talk about that would be more to your advantage than what you just spoke about? No. Then why would you speak about anything that would take away the vibrational momentum that is underway now? Get out.
Okay.